actually sent Mrs. Cody a letter about how just impressed I was. I think it was just great. I've worked in special education for many, many years, and getting to watch those kids play, and that their peers have the signs that cheer them on, and that a kid makes a shot and the fans erupt, and they had an announcer that was saying each kid's name, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful, and I would just say I just thought it was great, and I just really appreciate Mr. Link and Mr. Doffenbaugh. I don't know who else helped put it together. When a student council and Special Olympics put it together, that it's really cool. I think it's a great culture. I think it's a great thing to have our kids support those kids as part of their peers, and for them to get like a varsity basketball experience is pretty awesome. So anyway, I was impressed and really touched. I thought it was great. And I sat by a lot of the parents, and they thought it was pretty cool. It was cool for me to see parents in that light. So appreciate the secondary campus doing that, and the big gym and everything. It was great.
Thank you guys for sharing. Is there any other celebrations?
Just a highlight is the best in Morgan County. I shared this with staff right before break, but Thompson Primary Preschool was nominated as the best school in Morgan County. Brush Secondary Campus was the runner-up, and our school district was nominated as the best in Morgan County's community champion. So a lot to be proud of.
That's through the Fort Morgan Times, is that right?
The Morgan County Times, exactly.
Perfect. Okay. Any other celebrations? Next item of business, curriculum instruction data and assessment report. Mrs. Kimball, you're up.
All right. So my report is a little bit shorter. Tonight I just wanted to kind of really focus on our curriculum developments and our recommendations. We presented to the DAC and they did endorse our recommendations. So we are asking for Hegarty Phonics at preschool. This is kind of an extension of what we already have in place at Thompson, so we're just bringing it down to preschool. Hegarty Phonics is just a 10 to 12 minute daily lesson for our preschool students. That's an oral lesson, so they don't have resources associated with it. Kids don't have books or anything. Everything is done orally with the students, and it's really focused on phonemic awareness and phonological awareness for the young learners. Really helps to teach kiddos to hear the sounds that are in words so that they can understand that each letter represents a sound and then have that knowledge when they start to read words. It's a 35-week curriculum. It is a daily format. And like I said, it's only 10 to 12 minutes. So it's a really quick little lesson that's highly engaging for students. It has a lot of hand movements to represent different letters, or not letters, but sounds. The key skills that are taught are writing, onset fluency, blending, segmenting, and isolation. And it really just builds those skills that students need to become proficient readers. It is aligned with the science of reading, and one of the reasons why preschool likes it is because it's pretty easy to implement. They also went and watched kindergarten implement it, and really just thought it would be a huge benefit to have our 4-year-olds that are getting ready to go into kindergarten also be exposed to it. So the Hegarty is $1,181.60. It's a one-time purchase for those teacher resources, and then it will also come with professional development for $850. We are also going to be adopting TCI, Learning Alive, Bring Learning Alive, at the secondary campus, and the DBQ company, which is document-based questions. And so the TCI Bring Learning Alive is $60,211.85. DBQ is $4,054.50. We also have science up for approval as well, and we did present to DAC, and we actually need to hold on science right now and come back and re-present to DAC. We had a discrepancy in some of the resources that were listed on our quote, and so we need to reconvene that and get that back to what we need. So we'll be taking that one back to DAC. So for tonight, we are just asking for Hegarty Phonics and social studies. I'll let Bradley talk a little bit about the social studies TCI Bring Learning Alive resources.
I'll actually start with DBQ. DBQ company is one we've been using for a while now, since our last social studies adoption for 6 years. And it has a lot of digital tools and resources to where kids can actually write their essays in that platform. And we're shifting on that and getting the hard copy resources, and then we'll probably no longer need Project DBQ services because our staff doesn't use the digital tools. They'd rather have them either handwrite those essays or do them in Google Classroom. So that's getting some of the resources we need to continue to use that, and then we won't have the subscription that'll reoccur after that because our staff is really just using the resources, not the actual tools to write in Project DBQ. And then in terms of TCI's Bring Learning Alive, it is a very approachable curriculum for students. The textbooks are not incredibly dense, which social studies textbooks sometimes do get that way, very word dense. It's very approachable for students to read. It also does a phenomenal job of making real world connections for students. And while that's easy to do in maybe like a US government class where it's pretty obvious to show them, you can be like, read the newspaper, here it is. It gets a little tougher in things like world history, but it still does a very good job of bringing that into present day and making it applicable to their lives. And I've taught out of TCI resources before, and I really like them. They do a great job of making those connections for students, and the texts are approachable, so they're not very dense, and it kind of leads students into that connection in a nice organic way versus throwing a wall of words at them and then a couple of questions and hoping they make the connection. Does a much better job of bringing that alive for the kids. I think it holds true to what it promises in that. That is very heavy towards middle school resources. We do have some high school resources in there, but we have a few high school teachers who are pretty comfortable with the curriculum they've created, so they said they didn't really need that. But especially at the middle school level, we were a little resource scarce after our last adoption, and so I think this will give them a nice basis to work from in those classes.
Is that also a 6-year cycle? Okay.
It does. So the total that we're asking for tonight is $66,297.95, and then we'll bring science back around in April for approval. We're also going to give just an overview of the English Language Arts curricular resource options for Thompson and Beaver Valley. So we've presented that we're doing L Education and CKLA. So I'll give a quick overview of each, and then Mr. Singley and Mrs. Singley will share some pros of each. So first we'll start with Amplified Core Knowledge Language Arts, or CKLA. I did get a quote from each vendor, and so CKLA comes in at I say about, it'll probably be very close to it, but we just don't know exactly what the cost will be, because there might be some things that we don't purchase, or we might identify additional things that we need to purchase. So about $244,692, and that is for K-5. CKLA is a really comprehensive ELA resource that integrates phonics and reading and writing, listening and speaking throughout a content-based approach. It has a lot of options to help students build background knowledge with science and history through literature. It has a 2-strand system, K2. So what that means is that it has a skills strand that focuses on phonics and decoding, and it has a knowledge strand that involves read-alouds and vocabulary development. So 2 of those really important early literacy components are embedded within that K2 2-strand system. 3.5 is very content-rich, so it emphasizes complex informational texts in subjects like science and social studies and the arts. It is aligned to the science of reading, and it does have teacher guides, decodable readers, activity books. It does have some digital resources there as well if we were to choose to utilize those. And the overall goal with CKLA is just to cultivate proficient readers, writers, and thinkers by ensuring students learn to decode and comprehend effectively.
And so some of the pros that we saw, this was the first pilot that we did. So we did this at the beginning of the year. We finished it up mid-January so that we could start the next pilot.
You guys did L first?
CKLA.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, and so the things that the teachers really liked was it required a robust amount of writing, and we're really trying to focus on getting them to write. It includes social studies and science through the knowledge strand, both for K2 and 3-5. And the students appear to enjoy the informational text and the historical selections. We saw a lot of vocabulary building, and then them actually using that vocabulary in their language when they were just visiting and talking. And
I can
so-
attest to that.
Yes. So those were the three main pros of CKLA.
They're piloting right now L Education, and the quote from L Education came in at $224,187. So pretty comparable, a little bit of a difference there. L Education is a research-backed ELA curriculum that emphasizes deep reading, analytical writing, and collaborative inquiry. It's grounded in high-quality texts and real-world projects. It challenges students to think critically and communicate effectively, fostering both academic growth as well as character development. It has 3 dimensions of achievement, so it has mastery of knowledge and skills, character development, and then production of high-quality, authentic student work. It does offer a highly rated K-8 language arts curriculum. CKLA also is PK5, but it does have some extensions through 8th grade as well, if that were something that we wanted to look at when we do our 6 through 8 adoption. So L Education employs expeditionary learning, focusing on project-based and adventure learning. It incorporates ongoing assessment throughout the learning process. And it's really founded on outward bound principles, emphasizing adventure, teamwork, and academic rigor. Brian's
Cool.
turn.
My turn. Does anybody in here know the Outward Bound people? You have any?
Heard of it, but I don't know very much.
They're like, they started quite a while ago, but they're super big in like outdoor activity learning. So mountaineering, camping, hiking, pretty serious stuff. So I was kind of excited to learn that they were kind of the people that put this together. Some of the things that we found or that we're finding, because we're still doing this, are that it's really organized really well for determining reading groups and putting kids together in small groups during your reading instruction. It really has a solid framework of I do, we do, you do, which is part of the Brush instructional model that we've been working toward on. And it does a pretty good job of shifting the thinking and the work toward the student. It has a heavy slant toward phonemic awareness. And students, one of the things I think that they like about it is that during one of the sections called All Block, there are these task cards, and the task cards they'll have 2 or 3 different tasks on them that the student is supposed to do as they interact with the text. One of the things that they like is that some of these task cards are written so that they can choose their own passage, so what they're going to perform this task card on. So everybody, we're constantly encouraging them to go to the library and have a library book. Well, they can use that very library book and accomplish this task card. So they kind of like that because it's not, out of a workbook, and it's not out of the reading book, it's out of the book they're reading. So that's a pretty good motivator.
So as you remember, we did budget for $200,000 to go towards our purchase of our ELA curriculum. And we are exploring some additional avenues of funding there as well. We did meet as a curriculum council prior to going to spring break, and we're starting to kind of set up some processes in place to help support teachers with making their decision. And we plan to have that decision and bring a recommendation to the board in May. We also will, I also try to invite board members to come and watch OWL Education as well. Probably not until April, though. We'll give them a little bit of time to get used to the resources and get going there. So those are the 2 ELA pilots that we're doing. I think overall we have 2 really good resources. There are some differences between them, but I think whichever resource we go with, I think we'll be very happy with, especially with the strong alignment to the science of reading, which is what we need right now.
Are they both based on science of reading?
Yes. Aligned to the science of reading.
This, I don't want to put you on the spot if you can't answer this, and maybe Marcia can answer, but ELA curriculum is some of the most expensive curriculum we look at. Is that fair to say? Just so the board understands that ELA is expensive, it's quite a bit more expensive. Some of the other things we're gonna look at approve, and that's just how it is.
I would say ELA and math
Yeah,
are probably 2 of the higher dollar items when it comes down to it, but yeah.
ELA is expensive because you have to purchase text. You don't have to purchase in like a science or
Right.
social studies curriculum. So it's pricey.
Decodable reader sets along with all of the other pieces. Yeah.
Books that you won't have in secondary.
Right, right. Workbooks is what Brian said.
so will there be some continued annual cost associated with those as well then?
So typically what we try to do is we try to purchase everything for that entire 6-year cycle.
Okay,
So that we don't have continuing annual costs accruing every year.
okay,
And then that just really helps us to be able to stay to that like true 6-year cycle that we've set up. So all of that funding for that year is for the entire life of that resource.
perfect.
If we were to pause a year, then we might come and ask for a 1-year funding to repurchase consumable resources. With that being said, we did decide to pause our math adoption cycle for elementary next year. We were going to look at math resources next year. Implementing a new ELA resource is hard. And especially either L Education or CKLA, because it's a big shift from what we're used to. And so we did vote to pause math adoption next year. So at the end of next year, we will probably come and ask for some funding to just get 1 year of consumable resources for Envision, just to support that year. And then we'll go through with a math pilot. To do a math pilot and also have a brand new ELA resource is just gonna be really hard, so we decided to not move forward with that.
Just for clarity, you say we voted, is that curriculum council?
Yes,
Yeah,
curriculum
okay,
council, that's correct, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So that's for curriculum. Any questions, any other questions on that piece? High quality instruction, you'll see that I did update our observation data there. You'll see that some of our numbers are starting to move. I think that that's really indicative of the things that we're doing as an instructional admin and our professional development time that we have as administrators, what it is that we're focusing on during that time, and then what it is that principals are taking back to their schools, and then helping to do like professional development things around our goals as a district. So I was really excited to start to see that movement. It's fun to see. Yeah, it's good. Data and assessment, I updated the different state data collections that are going on. I do have a celebration. I don't know if Marcia shared with you or not. I had shared with you that we were engaged for an audit. And I completed that audit and we did not have any findings. So I was really excited about that. Thank you.
That speaks very highly of Mrs. Kimball.
Yeah.
Very highly of Mrs. Kimball.
Great job.
Thank you. I was really nervous, but there's a lot of good people that I work with that are also, that deserve some credit too. Danielle Schill and Penny Harbert, and I'll probably forget somebody's name, but they all support a lot with a lot of those things. And it's a lot. I mean, we try to really scrutinize every single detail, because the last thing that we want is to have to pay back money, which we've learned that does happen. And I actually shared with our auditor that, like, it broke my heart when we had to pay money back, and I said, I really hope that we just get processes in place that we never have to do that again. So I was nervous this year because we do have some new programs that we put into place with our online program that I didn't have experience reporting on before. And so Stephanie Wolliver did a really great job of helping to make sure that we had all of our audit documentation that we needed to have. And like I said, Danielle and Penny and everyone else that I work with, administrators, and so it was all of us. It was a collective effort.
Well, tell them all, great job.
Yeah, I will. Assessment update, so our assessment window is coming up April 13th through the 24th, and then we will follow up with end of year district testing, April 27th through May 11th. I went ahead and left our assessment webpage link there. And then I just quickly wanted to give some grant updates. So we did apply for the Empowering Action for School Improvement, or EASY grant, for strategic planning, and we did receive that grant. So we have, Marcia and I actually met with CEI today and started that process. So we're gonna start rolling that out here soon. And again, this grant is really focused on strategic planning and getting systems and structures and supports in place to address the opportunity and achievement gaps that we have in our schools. I also applied for the reallocated Title IV grant. Hopefully we get this grant, and this will go towards supporting some summer school efforts that we are wanting to put in place, as well as summer concurrent enrollment. Also purchasing some 6th grade orientation and parent, like transitioning to middle school pamphlets and magazines and stuff. So we're kind of excited for that. Bradley is going to have a 6th grade orientation this next year. So having that opportunity is gonna be great. So hopefully we get this grant to help offset some of those costs associated with that. I've also applied for the EASY supplemental grant, and this is one that we have this year. It's the EASY supplemental instructional coaching grant. This year we applied for funding to cover guest teachers at Thompson and Beaver Valley so that we could have teachers do instructional coaching also. And it's been very impactful. Our new teachers have been able to get some instructional coaching, and they have found it to be very successful. So successful that they wish they could have more of it. However, it's very difficult to have a teacher who's in a classroom teaching kiddos be available to implement a full-time instructional coaching position. So I actually applied for a TOSA at Beaver Valley for a full-time instructional coach. So if we get that grant, then we'll open up that position and interview for it, and then we'll have a full-time instructional coach at Beaver Valley for next year. So those are 2 that are upcoming. And that's all I have.
Questions for Mrs. Kimball? So she says this all so eloquently and clearly, but that's a lot of work. A lot of work. Those are only some of the grants that she's written. And she shouted out the admin team, and we also will shout out the teachers too. I know that you've, like, just a lot of work throughout our district is represented in these few pages. And like blood, sweat, and tears, but our staff are doing such great things for children, and I love this report and all the work that Mrs. Kimball and the principals and teachers and other staff are doing. There's a lot to celebrate there. So appreciate everyone's hard work.
Thank you.
I appreciate that the grants that you're chasing are direct impact on kids' outcomes, right? Like, we're very focused on that, and it's apparent by the grants you're applying for that that's what you're focused on. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job. Next item of business will be financial report. Mr. Yake?
Okay, just a couple of things here.
she was positive and happy, I'm not gonna be, so. So I'll let you know beforehand here. Couple things here, wrestling tickets, the district had an agreement that, the reason I'm bringing this up, because it got put on Facebook, and I wanna make sure the community understands, because I actually have heard a couple community members were upset about it, that it was posted that the district was buying these wrestling tickets for people to go to state wrestling. I wanted to clarify that it was reimbursable. We pre-bought them so people could sit together, and they were all reimbursed, and the agreement is that the wrestling club was going to pay a difference if there was, and it was like $180. So that's gonna be cleaned up. I just wanna let you guys know that, just because it was out in the community, so I heard about that. Another thing that I need to apologize for is we sent out the certified salary schedule. Inadvertently, when we went to recreate, I think we used like the 24-25 one instead of the 25-26 to roll forward. The numbers were inaccurate. We heard about that from some staff today. I did go through this morning and we did correct it. The numbers are not changing on the certified, they're exactly what they were. We just basically changed the number at the top and are rolling those forward here. So I just want to apologize for any inconvenience and panic that may have caused. And we did send out an all-staff email describing that to everybody with a copy of the revised salary schedule. So that's another piece. Another thing, just so you guys know how things are going here, is if you guys remember last year, we have over $100 million in assets, and we were only able to get about $25 million in property insurance. Got a notice today, and that $25 million, for the people that don't know, there was 5 companies that gave us $5 million each. It was a terrible situation for the price we paid. We just got a notice today from one of the $5 million companies saying that they're gonna agree to renew the policy, but the rate is gonna be higher than the 25% renewal. So I'm glad we're looking to move into SIDSIP this year. We've been talking to them. I talked to them actually over the weekend. They're excited to move forward with the partnership. They're just a lot cleaner operation. We're gonna be able to obtain more coverage. So it's just a better deal the whole way around. So really looking forward to that. So I think there's gonna be budgetary savings, and I think we're gonna be able to get 3 to 4, maybe 5 times the coverage we currently have pretty easily, so.
Do you anticipate that for May?
I'm anticipating, so we're kind of in a tricky situation here with our storm damage claims being open, because they are gonna require on-site, basically audits, field audits, where they come out and they bring people out. We're working on that right now, but I'm still working on the application piece. Their application is a book. I mean, I've got it pretty much done. And they've started reviewing that, but they're gonna have to come out and look at our buildings and see, because they're gonna give us the full amount of coverage and everything that we're gonna have, but they're gonna have a lot of exclusions until we get stuff fixed. And then once we get it fixed, we call them up, they bring out an inspector, and once it's done, they include it again. So, but anyways, that's kind of the process. They gotta come out and look at it. So to have it by May, I'm asking them, the quicker we can have it, the better, and the quicker we have numbers. I think we'll be able to get some preliminary numbers by then, but as far as knowing what's gonna be excluded and what's not, that might be June-ish. I mean,
Okay.
hopefully before the start of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So, so that's a piece of that. We're excited about that though, because it's gonna be a lot better, coverage. One of the things that they will do, and it's great for me, is if we were to ever have a big storm claim, they'll actually hold the money and pay the subs directly. So that's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
Then we don't have to run it through our books, and it's a lot cleaner for us, so. A couple of things here. There's some people in the community that I guess that, and I just wanna be real clear here. When you guys hire me to be just honest, transparent, fix processes, and try to fix budgets and clean up the school. And one of the things that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna be honest about the financial situation of the state for this year, upcoming year, and what they're projecting for the following year even. I think there's some people that don't understand the severity of what's potentially coming. And anyways, I wrote a little narrative. I read it to you guys, but I'm gonna read it again just so it's in public here. So give me 3 to 5 minutes, I promise I'll hurry. So, dear members of the board and Superintendent Cody, I'm just gonna read it. I want to update you on our district's financial position and the serious challenges ahead. We've already made several significant budget cuts this year, yet the budget is still not quite balanced. There are several factors beyond our control that can make our situation much worse very quickly. Just to elaborate on that, there's things like the specific ownership tax being swallowed up. I mean, that's like a $500,000 hit to us. There's talks of, potentially not being able to fund us as a whole. I mean, that's a discussion. Plus potential mid-year rescissions if they run into a situation where they don't have the money. So there's lots of things that could hit us really hard, really fast. So we're trying to be conservative, but we're also trying to teeter on realism, you know, so. But anyways, while we're not in crisis today, we're operating on a very thin margin, and things could change suddenly depending on state level decisions that unfold in the months ahead. Some of the state budget pressures and K-12 shortfalls. Colorado's budget picture is extremely serious. For 25-26, this total state budget is about $43.9 billion, and lawmakers are trying to close a $1.2 billion gap just to get a budget passed. Even with that gap, the state still had a Tabor surplus of about $108 million that must be refunded to the taxpayers instead of being used for schools or other services. This means the state can't have enough money coming in, but is not allowed to spend it on critical needs, including education. Almost every part of the budget is under strain at the same time. Medicaid and children's health programs need increases of around 6 to 7% each year just to keep up with cost and the number of people they serve. K-12 schools needed about $180 million more just to hold services steady, but only received about $100 million in new funding. To make these numbers work, lawmakers are cutting or reducing funding for transportation projects, free school meals, dental care for low-income adults, and other social programs so they could slightly increase K-12 funding and try to still balance the budget. Even with that increase, K-12 is still far behind where it needs to be. Statewide school funding is rising to roughly $10 billion, but that still falls short of what was promised in last year's school finance plan, which called for $500 million in additional funding, to be phased in over 6 years. To fully fund the current formula next year, the state would need about $186 million more than it provided, and the new formula will cost even more. To make up the difference, lawmakers are already planning to pull at least another $100 million from the state education fund, which puts that at risk of running short within a few years. Colorado schools have been underfunded for a long time. 2025 statewide study found that districts receive about $4,600 less per student than is what considered adequate, which leaves more than $4 billion missing from an education system every year. At the same time, strict limits on how the state can collect and spend under Tabor mean that funding for schools and healthcare keeps falling further behind the real needs. Lawmakers have stated that many of the cuts now are being made are likely to be permanent unless the state changes its long-term budget structure. The new school funding formula adds even more uncertainty. It is supposed to give extra help to at-risk students and English language learners, but the state does not yet have the money to fully fund it. The state education fund that supports schools is already stretched thin and could run low if the state keeps relying on it to fill its gaps. On top of this, there's a proposal now to change the specific ownership tax. It's a vehicle registration tax, is how it's being used. That tax is a major local funding source for districts like Brush. If those dollars are pulled into the statewide pot, we could lose a large stable part of our local revenue. When you add in the risk of federal cuts, the financial environment for Colorado schools is not just unstable, it's getting dangerous. Joint Budget Committee stress test. A couple weeks ago, the Joint Budget Committee staff shared their yearly budget stress test, and the message was extremely serious. Colorado is now spending more general fund money each year than it brings in, and the state is using one-time dollars to pay for ongoing permanent costs. This is not just a concern, it's a clear warning that the current budget system is breaking down. The state's own estimates show that the general fund reserve, the savings account that helps protect schools and other services, could be completely used up by the 29-30 fiscal year, even if there's no recession. If Colorado has even a moderate recession, which people are projecting, that reserve could be gone as quickly as the end of the 26-27 school year, which is next year. Just 1 or 2 budget cycles from now. This means the financial safety net we rely on to soften sudden cuts may disappear. It is important to understand while this current year is serious, the 27-28 school year is the one that the state officials are most alarmed about. That is the year that Colorado's compounding budget pressures, depleted reserves, deficits, rising mandatory costs, and constrained revenues are expected to hit with full force. State leaders and the budget analysts are openly expressing fear about it, and that 27-28 could bring revenue shortfalls and mandatory spending cuts to education to levels we've never seen before. Potentially far deeper and more damaging than anything that even happened in the worst years following the 2008 financial crisis. This is not a distant or hypothetical concern. It is a near-term horizon that the state is now actively dreading, and every school district in Colorado, including ours, needs to be preparing for it today. The stress test makes one hard truth clear. If Colorado wants to keep a working reserve, they'll need a major long-term changes in how the state brings in money and how it sets spending priorities. The path we're on right now is not sustainable and is heading towards a deeper crisis. Every conversation about school funding that's happening inside this larger unstable budget situation, which puts K-12 funding directly on the front line of a growing statewide budget emergency. Enrollment is another issue. Across Colorado, student enrollment has been shrinking, and experts predict that this trend, that's weird. They predict the trend will continue for the next several years. Over the past 2 years alone, the state has lost more than 10,000 students. Fewer babies are being born, and more families are homeschooling or using online learning. And some are leaving the state of Colorado due to high living costs and/or job changes. For Brush, even a small loss of students makes a big difference because our fixed costs, things like buses and buildings and staff, do not go down when we lose students. Every drop in enrollment puts more pressure on our budget. If the state changes to counting students based on a single year instead of a multi-year average, our funding could drop suddenly, leaving us with no time to adjust. The road ahead. Right now we're holding steady, but barely. Any change in state funding, student enrollment, or federal support could make our budget situation much worse very fast. Many of us who managed through the last major wave of education funding cuts starting in 2008 can see the same warning signs happening again today. This time, however, those cuts may be even deeper and more difficult to recover from. The state has made it clear again that 27-28 is the year it fears most, a year when revenues are expected to fall significantly and cuts statewide could reach levels again that we've never seen before. We've been making steady progress with a proactive approach in improving fiscal accountability and efficiency. We've tightened our internal controls, monitored spending more closely, and required stronger documentation for expenditures. These steps were necessary, though not always easy. They're helping us protect our mission and safeguarding funds for our students. I must also point out that our capital reserve fund, which covers buses, building repairs, and technology upgrades, still has almost no money. Rebuilding it would require shifting funds from somewhere else, which would likely mean more staff or program reductions. This is not a step we want to take, but it's a problem we can't ignore forever. In the next couple of years, we're gonna have to figure that out. Closing thoughts. You know, most people say this isn't meant to alarm you, but I'm gonna say the opposite. This is meant to alarm you, because it should. There's a very high potential for an imminent financial threat to all Colorado public schools, and the impact could be devastating, especially to rural districts like ours. We are already stretched thin, and under current state budget conditions and priorities, even minor shortfalls could trigger the major cuts that could go beyond anything we would normally consider reasonable. I need everyone to understand how serious this is and the challenges facing education funding. They're very real, and they're not limited just to Colorado. Many states across the nation are facing the same financial strains, some even worse. School systems everywhere are forced to do more with less, and the gap between what is needed and what is funding grows wider every year. We could soon face major programs and staff eliminations that are painful for our schools and heartbreaking for our community. But the warning signs are clear. If the state's financial path does not change, these outcomes are very likely. We must face the situation honestly, stay alert, and prepare to make decisions that will protect the survival and integrity of the school district in the face of real and immediate financial danger. That's my statement. Sorry, it's not very rosy. So, anyways, last piece I want to give you after that is kind of just a budget summary. I guess this is kind of a little bit of a celebration to a point. Some of the reality to our budget that we are facing this year, a lot of other schools aren't facing, some of them aren't, is we're facing significant declining enrollment over the past couple of years. We also were facing improper budgeting and financial processes that we had to correct, which was part of aligning the budget to actual costs, which is part of the reason that we had to make some of these reductions, you know, and additions too also. But just in summative, bottom line is we so far have, we've identified about $3.1 million in reductions, and we've added $2.7 million. Our initial cuts required were $1,499,000. Right now, basically, if everybody, if all the buildings, which several of them have, meet their 6% or their reduction, we would be $786,000 shortfall still. We are looking at a few options that could bring that down. For example, some of the stuff we have budgeted, I have like a potential loan for some storm damage work in there that we probably wouldn't need this year that we could reduce out of there. We were trying to build in a school council core grant position for sustainability. That's something we might have to back out of there because it won't be spent next year anyways. possible unemployment cost, hopefully we can avoid some of that. There's some capital reserve costs this year that we're trying to avoid as well, or pay this year instead of next year. So anyways, with that said, right now, we started, like I said, around 3 million, and as of today, and keep in mind, this could change greatly. I mean, it could swing $1 million here if just those couple things pass, but we're at about a $51,000 deficit to balance the budget. So, I'm proud of that, because it was a lot. I mean, considering we started with like 3 million, so we got a lot done. Again, some of the notes is these are preliminary figures. We still have to bring it to you guys for review and go through the one page that we're gonna create of all the reductions and additions we're making. There were a lot of reclassifications between funding sources, general fund and grants, things like that. So there were some grant positions that were unfunded, some debt and things like that we had to go out. Some of the possibilities is we might, like I said, we might face possible state rescissions, loss of funds mid-year. They may issue a mid-year, year-end rescission to the state education budget. If enacted, we would face unexpected reductions in a quick manner that we would have to face. True enrollment impact. I mean, if our enrollment went up, that would be helpful. If it went down, we're trying to budget pretty conservative here, but I mean, it could still drop substantially. You look at a federal funding, title funding. Right now, we're hearing the numbers are going to be pretty consistent with where they're at, but again, that's federal funding. We're not sure if that could hurt us as well. UPK program, we could have an additional loss of funds there or a gain of funds, so that could go either way. Same thing with special education reimbursements, high cost reimbursements for some of our special needs students. That could adjust as well. And again, looking forward, I mean, we're at the tip of the iceberg here, in my opinion, but 26, 27, or I'm sorry, 26, 27. The 27, 28, I know it's over a year away, but we need to be real cognizant of that monster that's coming is what they're projecting. Is they're projecting that to be considerably deeper than this year, and it's very alarming. So anyways, thank you guys for the support as always, and thanks for listening to me ramble.
Thanks, Mr. Yates. Anyone have any questions?
Just want to add on one thing, and he may sound very pessimistic, and that's what he needs to be. We have to be fiscally conservative and be aware of what could come, what it could happen. Meanwhile, we aren't ensuing panic. It's just, this is the reality that's going on, not just with our school districts, but school districts across the state and actually across the nation some. Ours just a little trickier because our funding formula is a little bit different in the state of Colorado. So it is a reality, and a lot of hard decisions have been made by principals and directors to figure out, okay, how do we cut all of that? There were some desired additions, and so there were some, that was those amounts that we talked about, and there were cuts. But there's also been a lot of hard work, like Mr. Yake talked about the high cost application. We haven't done that for several years, but Mr. Yake completed that this year. And we had like 5 or 6 students, we had like most school districts and CBOCs had maybe one, a lot had 0, but maybe had one. I think there was one other school district that had 2, and we had like 6 or 7 high-cost students that we were asking for reimbursement for. So there's work, and you heard Mrs. Kimball talking about the grants she's pursuing, so a lot of hard work's happening, even in our situation, to make sure that we're providing the best learning experience for all students. So just want to frame it in that. And Keith, Mr. Yake, works very, very hard to make sure all those numbers, everything is thought through and figured out. And he's very, he's very knowledgeable and has a lot of expertise with school finance, so I appreciate him.
Another thing we're trying to do too, just real quick here, is we're also trying to utilize things we have to do and utilize and make them more efficient. For example, like our property insurance coverage. I mean, we're looking at saving money, but getting better coverage. The health insurance we're looking to go to is going to save potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. If it was this year, we'd be several $100,000. We had a great year this year, knock on wood. But again, with quality care that's just as good, if not better, than what we currently have across the board with a virtually free option. So everything we're doing, we're trying to make as efficient and as good for our staff and our kids as possible. So that's at the forefront of everything we're doing.
Very good. I appreciate all the tough decisions that directors have made too, so. Any questions for Mr. Yake? Okay, next item of business, board reports. Is there any board reports to present?
I attended DAC, and it was like lightning fast meeting, because we had a band concert to get to. So we were really pushing through stuff. So not a ton, just kind of touched base on the budget again, with the DAC budget subcommittee. Went over a lot of curriculum. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of concerns regarding, mostly it seemed like the GT program kept coming up repeatedly. And then we sent some policies home with them to review, and we'll go over it in more depth in April. So it's a really quick meeting.
Any other board reports?
It was meet and confer.
Mhm.
Mr. Holder,
We touched on the budget update. Keith wasn't able to be there, but we touched on it. Went over a bunch of policies, had a bunch of feedback from teachers on some of the policies. Went over critical shortage and how that's handled. And went over the new leave policies that are on their first reading and stuff with them, so that's pretty much what it was.
Very good, thank you, and I'll just share that Finance Committee met on March 2nd, and the February finances appear to be in order, and we also discussed health insurance plan options during that Finance Committee meeting. Any other board reports?
Did you want to share that?
Just remember the oyster fry is this Thursday.
They start feeding at 5 p.m.
I think so,
Where's it at?
at the high school.
High school.
And auction starts at 7, I believe.
Is that when it starts?
Yep.
Hundreds of people will be there.
And I think they might be looking for a ring man or two still, so if you show up, you might get nominated.
She had mentioned to me that they were gonna have that in place, but
That could have been just to get you there.
could have been.
Okay, next item of business, executive session. Is there a motion to enter executive session?
I hereby move that the Board of Education convene an executive session pursuant to CRS Section 26-6-402, subsection 4B, to receive legal advice from the school district's attorney, Steve Everall, regarding number one, the lawsuit styled Brush School District RE2J versus Rocky Mountain Construction Company and MDZ Roofing, Morgan County District Court, case number 2025 CV 20049. And number two, the hail damage claim with Selective Insurance Company. Number three, the status of the Thompson Primary School construction projects. And number four, change order to include Beaver Valley windows. Those present will be members of the Board of Education. The board may also include Ms. Marcia Cody, Mr. Steve Everall, Mr. Jamie Lorenzini, Mr. Keith Yake, and Ms. Lacey Smith.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded to enter executive session. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Hess? Aye. Mr. Holdren?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Catalini?
All right.
Mr. Chart?
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks for coming, everyone. Okay, is there a motion to leave executive session?
I move that the Board of Education leave executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education leave executive session. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett.
Aye.
Mrs. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Holdren.
Aye.
I believe Mrs. Stone.
I'll just announce it when we're done.
Okay.
Just go to Mr. Tadalini.
Mr. Tadalini.
Aye.
Mr. Tru.
Aye. Motion carries. Time is now 8:27 PM and the executive session is concluded and we return to the open meeting. Participants in the executive session were Mrs. Lacey Garrett, Mrs. April Hess, Mr. Jason Holdren, Mrs. Nicole Stone, Mr. Sean Tadalini, Mr. Paul Chard, Mr. Steve Everall, Mrs. Marcia Cody, Mr. Jamie Lorenzini, Mr. Keith Yake, and Mrs. Lacey Smith. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none, the executive session is concluded, and I will ask Jason Holdren to report on the executive session.
In the executive session, we discussed the lawsuit concerning Rocky Mountain Construction Company and MDZ Roofing, the hail damage claim with Selective Insurance Company, Thompson Primary School Construction, and Beaver Valley Windows.
Mr. Everall, would you care to certify our executive session?
Yes, it was proper. You might want to note, Paul, that one of the board members left early.
Yep. Yeah, just state that for the record that
Okay.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Stone left the
Left
executive session.
executive session at 7:57 PM.
Perfect. Okay, is there any objections to taking a 5-minute recess? We'll do so.
Jamie,
Go ahead. You guys, I'll be all right. Maybe if I
Sorry.
I'm trying to do it.
Oh, that's great.
I was trying to finish it quickly. I had two
Sorry.
butterscotch, so sorry.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right, you're done. There it was.
All right, so just a quick reminder, we have a work session on April 6th. We'll be here at the district office. And at that time, we'll discuss Chapter 4, so please have Chapter 4 of the Governance Core read by April 6th. April 11th is our board retreat. That will start at 8 a.m. and it will end at 1 p.m. Chartwell's is catering our meal free of charge, so we just appreciate that. Because we chose not to go to Casby to save money, they said they're going to bring that meal they would have purchased for us there to us.
Oh,
So
cool.
that is just a huge blessing, so we appreciate Chartwell's doing that. For that board retreat, if you'll please read chapter 5, but you'll have like 4 days to read it, so you can read 4 and 5 or go to chapter 5. There's some updates in my superintendent's report, please feel free to read those. I'm not going to discuss those. The ALMA, the action items going on to page 3. ALMA is your first action item. In that motion, the recommended motion, it does say not to exceed $26,750. That's for a year. That will drop because we decided to terminate our contract with CHE, that is the Colorado Homeschool Enrichment. That we will no longer need those additional seats, so that will drop. So I just revised that motion a bit just to say not to exceed. Preschool tuition, just note that's going to hold off until April 20th at our April 20th meeting. Head Start Preschool will have a couple of different action items for you, and that preschool tuition will be another one. With the middle school uniforms, there's additional information in my superintendent's report in the 3rd tab, so feel free to click on that and see that. Going down to employees, a key piece there, you will have 2 personnel reports because we have a board member on one. The second is the abolished and transition positions, and I'm going to just pull that up very quickly so that you can see that. So what I'm grateful to be able to say is we did not have to RIF to any certified teachers. So no certified teachers are on this list. We did end a intervention director position over at Beaver Valley, but that certified teacher was able to move into an intervention position because the interventionist was able to move into a 3rd grade position. So there wasn't a RIF. Everybody else is classified. So if you have any questions or anything, sometimes rumors will, like, we're cutting teachers, we're cutting, certified. No, we did not cut a single teacher. So there's your list. Any questions on that? Because that's one that I think a lot of rumors flew around the community, and I would catch, I'd catch a couple, but I'm sure you may have heard more. So just want to be clear. Just a quick overview of it at Little Beats childcare, right? Because Rosie Evans is taking over the childcare starting this summer, so childcare workers, and then we have floaters, and then we won't need that assistant director, and you don't need some of them admin because you no longer have the childcare, so there's some cuts. But Thompson, it was mainly in paraprofessionals. 6 total positions, but 1 person retired, so 5 paraprofessionals were cut. At Beaver Valley, there was a grant-funded full-time sub that was cut. I already talked about the intervention director. There was an intervention paraprofessional, so it was a paraprofessional that supported the interventionist. Our counselor, or the person that's in that position, is transferring into the counselor core funds because that is now a grant-funded position. And our intervention para was switched over to a sped para. At the middle school, an intervention para, similar to Beaver Valley, that was abolished. We did reduce days in both the work-based learning coordinator at the high school and the counselor. So it was beyond their, you'll see here, it's beyond their contracted days. So they had an extended contract, so just reduce the number of days. At Construction Science was a pilot program this year, as you recall, 0.25, that was covered by a substitute teacher. High school math teacher wanted to reduce down to quarter time, so that was a collaborative decision. And then a paraprofessionals, special ed para, ML para, the online para, there wasn't a need to there. And then the high school English teacher, you'll remember that position went away. The teacher, the certified teacher, resigned or left. That relationship terminated in the fall. And so we never rehired. We were able to fill that position in various ways. Right now, there's a full-time sub, but in the spring, the master schedule has it so that we have certified licensed people teaching that class. And then that is it. The assistant principals are getting reconfigured. So there was also a statement that with the salary schedule, it was already brought up, so I'm not going to talk about that at length. Everything remains the same for this next year. We're trying to keep lanes and steps as they are. That is our goal in our budget. We also heard Mr. Yake, it all depends on what the state ends up doing. Those are the unknowns. With the range salary schedule, the ranges changed. We added different positions. That does not mean we're hiring all those positions. There was a rumor that because we added like a dean at the elementary and a dean at the secondary and middle school principal, that we're hiring everything, like assistant principals, middle school principal, no. Just what the board has approved. So there'll be a high school principal, middle school principal, and a shared dean. And then everybody, the same positions at elementary that are right now.
Which is technically a restructure. We had
Yeah.
3 admin there already, we're just reorganizing and
Exactly.
reapportioning them, so
Right.
I think it's important to note too. Because I had the same kind of question, like, why are we hiring a new someone, and like, we're not, just
Exactly.
restructuring. We had 3, we still have 3.
We needed a principal over the middle school. It is a separate school. And then, so we already talked about salary schedules, that's there. Then the finances, you'll see for medical insurance, there's a resolution agreement on the agenda as action items. I'm going to ask that you table that, or in other words, don't make a motion. Those are still in review with our legal counsel. We've been in correspondence, we just need a little more time. So on April 6th, when we have our board work session, I'd ask that the board consider having a special board meeting on April 6th after our work session to approve those if the board desires, but I'll bring forward the resolution and the agreement.
So that's 10.7 and 10.8 tonight.
Thank you for that.
And there'll probably be a personnel report that evening too. We have a volunteer that will need the board to approve that evening. So it should be a short special board meeting. And we're going to make that work session, Paul and I worked on, President Chart and I worked on, I'm tired. President Chart and I worked on the agenda last week. We met for 5 hours?
Yeah.
And we have planned a shorter work session agenda since we'll have the retreat that Saturday. But some key activities during that work session that will lead into what we'll do during the retreat. So almost taking the retreat and breaking it in half and doing half of it that Monday night and half of it on Saturday morning.
So some pre-work that we'll be able to digest for a few days. I think it'll be really
That's helpful.
valuable.
Yeah.
Focusing on our strategic goals, board goals, priorities, my role, that type of thing. As far as storm damage, we just came out of an executive session, so I'm not going to rehash that, but you have your action items there, both for NV5 to do the work on the admin building and the H building. Those are we call them small building projects. It's put the roofs on and at this point. Then you have an action item, 2 action items for our civil engineering work that took place. The Daniels Avenue and South Lawn, I again want to just thank the foundation for their support and their work on that. So that is being paid for through foundation funds. And then you have the Northeast Pond and the site plan. Another action item that I just brought to your attention today, earlier today, is an opportunity that the board has been invited to participate in a social media litigation. If you choose to join this litigation, what it's about is you're being asked to authorize or to join a national no-cost lawsuit against Meta, TikTok, Snap, and YouTube. And it will be to hold these companies accountable for, quote, deliberately designing their platforms to addict children and for the costs that burden is placed on our schools, our staff, and our students. So it is a mental health, social media initiative, or lawsuit, I should say, not an initiative. The next one, any questions on that social media litigation? Yep. Okay. Strictly Tech, this is for E-rates. Mr. Murphy, I heard, did a marvelous job explaining E-rate funding at the last work session. So that is there for the needed network upgrades. That is a huge blessing because originally this was going to need to come out of general fund. You'll recall the previous budget had that slated. Mr. Murphy has worked hard on E-rate, and that's what that is for. The next action item is the auditorium and arena audio upgrades. This is again funded by the foundation, so again, thank you to the foundation. You'll recall that prior to graduation last year, we had some audio difficulties. Mr. Murphy, because that's his area of expertise, was able to figure it out, and it worked beautifully for graduation, but he was controlling a lot of it down by that lower bleacher and had a table, but made it work. This solves that problem. We want to make sure the sound for graduation is on point, it's done correctly, and it also will help us, so we'll take, and Mr. Murphy, feel free to correct, add, change, and then it will make sure that we have high quality audio for our auditorium prior to our musical, which is Anastasia this year. Mr. Murphy, anything to add or correct?
No. And also on there is what are called expansion boxes that will allow me to tie in the Ox Gym and the middle school gym into the audio system that I installed in the arena last year or earlier this summer. Then they'll be able to be controlled by an app, and no more of this like locking a cabinet, and we'll just give people access to the app and maybe some touch screens and be able to control all the gyms. That's in there too. So.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
And I think it's important to reiterate that this project is paid for with foundation funds, and I think that's a great use of those funds because all of those spaces are used heavily by the community, and I think that goes in along with the spirit of both of those foundations.
So again, thank you to the Pettis and Needham Foundations, which is administered by Farmer State Bank. So just really, really appreciate all of that.
And none of this stuff would be under warranty from when it was originally put in?
I think Mr. Murphy will be best to talk, do you want to address that? You and I have talked about that, about the warranties.
Manufacturer warranty will be there.
But I mean the old, from when it was built.
Yeah, we're past that. Those were all purchased at the latest in 2019, so they're all getting close to 7 years.
What's typical warranty on that kind of stuff?
One, you can purchase extended warranties for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
That would take considerably because it's per item. But I was able to get the company. Rockfan was involved in the programming of the original system, so that'd be a good resource to make sure all what's there. Because I won't be able to sit on top of what's there and make it work pretty seamlessly. Consulted with them on the parts and everything too. So.
Thanks for all your work on that.
There are so many things I'm glad I'm not an expert, but we have people that are experts, right? Like, wow, between Mr. Lorenzini, Mr. Yake, you heard today, Mr. Murphy, we are very fortunate for the expertise in our district. Tonight I do have, it looks like a huge list of policies, but it isn't as big as it may look because we're trying to condense our leave policies into one main policy, and that's GBGG, which you have heard of before. And this is also still being revised. So this is a first reading. Our legal counsel got back to us on another little tweak today, so you're going to see another version. I will email it to you with my board update at the end of this week. So know that. But the essence of it will remain the same. The key pieces, and I'm just gonna pull it up so it's on the screen and give you the highlights. The key piece is we are going to be splitting our leave into two categories, sick leave and general leave. And right now we receive, all full-time district employees receive 88 hours of general leave. So now we're going to receive 48 hours of general leave and 48 hours of sick leave for a total of 96 hours. So there's more hours, but splitting that. Then they'll be left into banks. So you can accumulate a sick leave bank and you can accumulate a general leave bank. In this policy, you will see the content from GBGHE and GBGHR and your GDD, the 12-month, because those three are going to be repealed, or sorry, GDD will be repealed, so that 12-month policy is coming in. The GBGHE and GBGHR are being repealed because we're, instead of doing the sick bank, just going to donated days and changing it from donate a day to donated days. And with that, I'm gonna pull that up too. For those that are currently in the sick bank, if they're currently active in the sick bank, they will receive 8 hours of general leave in return because they gave 8 hours to be a part of the sick bank. When we talk to legal, we don't have to do that, but we just thought that felt like a good thing to do as we part from that. All of these changes are coming down because of the new labor laws of 2025. So how we accumulate, how we pay out, how that all works, and family leave, and so we can have a more extensive conversation about any of this that you would like to, but that is the short version. So tonight is first reading, so it's just informational. So I'm sharing it with you. You'll have the next month until our April 20th board meeting to read these policies more closely. And then it went to meet and confer for an initial, just almost like a first reading at our last meet and confer meeting. We didn't have a lot of time because we had focused a lot on the parent rights and responsibilities policies and some other things. So this I've already put it on our agenda for our April meet and confer meeting because I want to make sure that team understands the changes and we get their voice in that as well, so we can talk about it at length at that time. Going back, so GBGH is changing from sick leave and donated day to just donated leave. That GBGG is bringing up that GDD policy into it, and it references some of this donated days in there. It also references a little bit of GBGJ, which is staff bereavement leave. That policy remains. We are just adding the word fiscal in front of the word year because there was a little bit of confusion about what was meant by year to year, so fiscal year to fiscal year. And then in GCBAR, pull that up. This one is just, again, talking about, this is the continuing education of what qualifies to move over. We talked about steps and lanes, what qualifies to move over in the lanes and for continuing education. So you'll see that here and when those changes, and I know we talked about this a little bit about a year ago, so it's coming back because we're needing to revise it a bit, again, to bring clarity. We're wanting to do August and September. We're wanting to make sure that they are transcripted classes that align with what they're doing, so you can see all of that as you review it this month. Any questions on, well, it's first reading, but any initial just for informational pieces? Second reading, we have several policies up for second reading tonight, ready to be moved to third if you so choose. The first one is CBA, CBC, and these changes were to make sure they align with our evaluation tool and the contract. So what we have first is what we had set as a role. This is one that, because we're talking about the retreat, we're gonna be talking about some of these things. Is this really what you still want my focus to be? So if you chose to, and this is a time for us to discuss it, it is a second reading, you could choose to table this policy for a second reading until after the board retreat. That would be a choice. So thoughts on this one? And all of this is just coming out of my superintendent roles and responsibilities doc that you approved in 2024.
I don't anticipate a lot of that changing, but I think it might be wise to table that one until after. I mean, there's no sense of urgency on that.
There is none, there is none. And really, you could actually do all of these that are in that same little piece, these evaluations of the superintendent, those three, you could hold all three until then. That's something that you could do if you would like to, because they're similar. This one has less, oops, let me try to open it up better. Get this going. So this is where I talked about, and I brought this up when I shared it as a first reading. This is to align it with my contract and what we're doing, so what those evaluations are. And then the third one here is the same. So it's like 3 times as specified in CBI. So it has the same pieces in it. So you could do all 3, you could just do that first one, that's the one that's really impacted. It's just up to you if you want to keep them together or not. Any discussion you want to have on that, or questions you have for me on those 3? The next one is EBCE. This is the school closing. This is to add a late start. Again, I do not plan to abuse that. If you choose to move that to a 3rd reading, it's only when it is really needed. Like when the electricity goes out and you know you can get it on by, 8:15 or something like that type of thing.
Has anybody had any concerns from anyone on that?
The next are our parent engagement and education. So this is where I just referenced that at Meet and Confer, this is where we spent a majority of our conversation during that time. It has gone to DAC. DAC voted to send it to the board. Meet and Confer has talked about it the past 2 meetings and has had some good, staff asked some great questions and I did my best to answer those questions. So this first one is policy KB, parent engagement and education. Any questions on that one? I know we've been looking at this one for a little bit, so any questions on that? The next one is, let me get here, the rights and responsibility. This is KBB. This one, it's all red because this one's new to us. The parent rights are already rights that parents have. They're nothing like fanciful or outrageous. They're ways that we want parents to engage. The responsibilities come from our civility work that we did in Meet and Confer last school year. We wanted to find a place where we did put that into place. How does that come into policy? And I just want to give credit to President Chard. It's like, hey, maybe that's the place, and I think it provided a really nice policy. Ended up coming together. KBA is the Title I parent engagement policy. And I apologize for a second. There we go. Sometimes I can use this well and sometimes I struggle with it. So KBA, this is to make sure that we're aligning our Title I parent engagement policy with the expectations for Title I. One, it's aligned with KB, but also it has in there the pieces that we need for Title I, which is that we need to notify parents if they're being taught by somebody for more than 4 weeks. It also has our volunteer pieces in there. So that's all in that policy. Any questions on that one? The next policy is one that was brought up at the last special board meeting, and that was because we realized, oh, this exhibits don't really have to go to the board, but I like for them to go to the board just so that it has your seal of approval. And this one just needs the revision about that 4-week notification that's required by law, ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which followed No Child Left Behind. So it's the federal law that says, hey, you've got to do this if you have Title I, and we have our schools are school-wide Title I. So we definitely need to revise that. The next one also is a regulation. So I say also because exhibits and regulations don't have to go to the board, but I think it's helpful, again, to go to the board. This one's to bring clarity around the volunteer policies that the board approved, the IJOC policies, and just clarifying what qualifies as a volunteer and what qualifies as a visitor. So in case there are conversations or questions that pop up during that, when implementing that policy, or 10 years from now, it's hopefully articulated well in this policy, or in this regulation, I should call it. Those policies are just these that are underneath IJOC, or just for you to reference. This checklist is the document that a couple of our staff members work to help us implement the volunteer policies. For third reading, you have the 3 policies: GCFA, hiring of instructional staff, portability on non-probational staff. This has gone to meet and confer. This is a policy that just describes how somebody can request portability when they are hired by Brush School District. So the third one is federal fiscal compliance. This one is one that we need to have because we do take out federal grants. We apply and participate in, and so there are certain pieces like time and effort reporting which are required when you participate in those federal grants. And the third one is DH, and this is adding a little piece on our DH policy, if you recall, that allows us to use our criminal insurance in addition to taking out bonds for people who oversee $50 or more. All right. And with that, President Chard, I believe I am done.
Perfect. Next item of business, does not appear that we have any community comment. So we'll move on to action items. 10.1, Alma.
I move that we approve the quote for Alma not to exceed $26,750 per year for the next 5 years.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the quote for Alma not to exceed $26,750 per year for the next 5 years. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Holdren?
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini?
Aye.
Mr. Chard?
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.2, curriculum.
I move to approve Hagerty Phonics for preschool for $1,181.60 for a one-time purchase of resources and $850 for professional development, and TCI Bring Learning Alive $60,211.85, and the DBQ Company $4,054.50 for 6 through 12 social studies.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Hagerty Phonics for preschool for $1,181.60 for a one-time purchase of resources and $850 for professional development, and TCI Bring Learning Alive $60,211.85, and the DBQ Company $4,054.50 for 6 through 12 social studies. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.3, personnel report.
I move to approve the first personnel report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the first personnel report as presented. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.4, personnel report number 2.
I move to approve the second personnel report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to been moved and seconded to approve the second personnel report as presented. Is there any discussion? I will abstain from this vote as I am listed on the personnel report as a volunteer. There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Present. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.6, 10.5, 2026, 2027 abolished and transitioned positions.
I move to approve the 2026 and 2027, or through 2027 abolished and transitioned positions as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026, 2027 abolished transition positions as presented. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.6, 2026, 2027 salary schedules.
I move to approve the 2026-2027 salary schedules as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026, 2027 salary schedules as presented. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.7, resolution 2026-03 to authorize administration rights and establish procedures for the 2026-2027 district health insurance plan. Is there a motion for 10.7? There is no motion. Next item of business, 10.8, brokerage services agreement. Is there a motion for 10.8? There is no motion. Next item of business, 10.9, insurance roof repair, additional scope and service requested.
I hereby move that the superintendent be authorized to execute an extension of the NV5 contract for owner's representative services for the Thompson Primary School re-roof project to include said services for the proposed H building, bus barn, and district office project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the superintendent be authorized to execute an extension of the NV5 contract for owner's representative services for the Thompson Primary School re-roof project to include said services for the proposed H building, bus barn, and district office project. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chard.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 10.10, TPS windows purchased with funds from insurance. Is there a motion for 10.10?
I hereby move that the superintendent be authorized to execute a change order to the Thompson Primary, is that the right one?
Yes.
Sorry, it's getting late. I hereby move that the superintendent be authorized to execute a change order to the Thompson Primary School re-roof contract with Buildings by Design to include 62 laminated aluminum, is that all I need to say there?
Yep.
Windows, in accordance with BBD's proposal dated February 11th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the superintendent be authorized to execute a change order to the Thompson Primary School re-roof contract with Buildings by Design to include 62 aluminum laminated windows in accordance with BBD's proposal dated February 11th, 2026. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chart.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.11, BBE windows purchased with insurance funds.
I hereby move that the superintendent be authorized to execute a change order to the Thompson Primary School re-roof contract with Buildings by Design to include 58 aluminum laminated windows at the Beaver Valley Elementary School in accordance with BBD's proposal dated March 10th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the superintendent be authorized to execute a change order to the Thompson Primary School re-roof contract with Buildings by Design to include 58 aluminum laminated windows at the Beaver Valley Elementary School in accordance with BBD's proposal dated March 10th, 2026. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chart.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.12, civil engineering utilizing foundation funds.
I move to approve the payment of 2 Western Engineering invoices for the Daniels Avenue project and the South Lawn project with foundation funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of 2 Western Engineering invoices for the Daniels Avenue project and the South Lawn project with foundation funds. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chart.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.13, civil engineering for BSC site plan and Northeast Pond.
I move to approve the payment of the Western Engineering invoices for the BSC site plan and the Northeast Pond.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of the Western Engineering invoices for the BSC site plan and the Northeast Pond. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Chart.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.14, joint social media youth mental health litigation.
The Board of Education of Brush School District RE2J authorizes the district to join the National Social Media Multi-District Litigation MDL number 3047 ND-CAL against Meta, TikTok, Snap, and YouTube for their role in the youth mental health crisis. The superintendent is authorized to execute a contingency, is it free, right? Or fee?
It's fee, but
It is fee?
but it's free.
Okay, sorry, I thought I read free somewhere. To execute a contingency fee representation agreement with Wagstaff and Cartmel and co-counsel, subject to review by district legal counsel and to cooperate with litigation counsel as needed to pursue the district's claims.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education of Brush School District RE2J authorizes the district to join the National Social Media Multi-District Litigation MDL number 3047 ND-CAL against Meta, TikTok, Snap, and YouTube for their role in the youth mental health crisis. Superintendent is authorized to execute a contingency fee representation agreement with Wagstaff and Cartmel and co-counsel, subject to review by district legal counsel and to cooperate with litigation counsel as needed to pursue the district's claims. Is there any discussion? I do think it's worth noting here that this is contingency fee based, and so there won't be any legal costs to the district on this. Any other discussion? There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Catalini,
Aye.
Mr. Church.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.15, E-rate network upgrade, update.
I move to approve the quote from Strictly Technology for the network upgrade.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the quote from Strictly Technology for the network upgrade. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Catalini,
Aye.
Mr. Church.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.16, auditorium arena audio upgrade funded by Needham and Pettis Foundations.
I move to approve the quote for the auditorium and arena audio paid for with foundation funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the quote for the auditorium and arena audio paid for with foundation funds. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Catalini,
Aye.
Mr. Church.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 10.17, policies.
Did we decide to leave out the superintendent ones? Or leave, or?
If you choose to, the CBA,
CBA.
CBC is
Okay.
the one.
Just the top one, not the other?
You could choose to leave all the CB policies off. They're all closely related.
All about evaluation, the superintendent. The first one is about the role particularly, the CBA, CBC. CBI and CBIR, the evaluation of the superintendent.
I'm just not
So
even
we
gonna
want
try
to start
this
with
one.
EBC.
Yeah, that's,
I move for policies EBCE, KB, KBB, KBA, KBA-E, and IJOC-R to a third and final reading and provide final approval to GCFA, DAC, and DH.
Second.
so moved and seconded for policies EBCE, KB, KBB, KBA, KBAE, and IJOC-R to a third and final reading and provide final approval to GCFA, DAC, and DH. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Catalini,
Aye.
Mr. Church.
Aye, motion carries. So information items, again, work session, April 6th at 6 PM here. April 11th will be the board retreat, also here, starts at 8 AM, should wrap up at 1 PM. And then the next regular board meeting will be April 20th at 6 PM. Mrs. Cody, do you have any clarifications on anything?
I do, I have one piece. When I talked about the abolished positions, I said no certified teachers were RIF'd. And I can assume that everybody understands that that doesn't mean those other positions were not hard to cut. That losing those classified positions was extremely painful. They serve our district well, and we appreciate everything they have done for us. Those decisions were heartbreaking for the principals, for me, for all of us, so their colleagues. And want to say how much I appreciate all that they have given to our school district, and I hope in the future there's a way that they can come back and work for our district, because we do value them. It's simply a budget cut decision.
Thank you. Any other clarifications on anything? Anything during this meeting you feel needs to be addressed in policy or added to a future meeting agenda? Very good. No further business. Meeting is adjourned. I do want to